Eugene Mulero with Transport Topics, and joining us today is Don Lefeve. He's President and CEO of the Commercial Vehicle Training Association. Don, thanks you for coming on.
Thanks, Eugene. Thanks for having me.
You wrote a letter recently to the Department of Transportation, Secretary Elaine Chao, and it was related to the entry-level driver training rule. This is something that the Trump administration delayed twice, and now the effective date will be May 22nd. In the letter that you wrote, you brought up several concerns. What were they?
Sure. Thanks, Eugene. We did address a couple of concerns. First, the president's moratorium on regulations, it's typical with administrations that come in to put a 60-day hold. At least we've seen that in the last two administrations. We understood that when this presidential memo went out putting a 60-day freeze, Secretary Chao wasn't even confirmed at that point.
Yeah, that's right.
So we didn't raise really a stink about it on the first 60 days. We understand that people need to get confirmed, they need to get into their positions and assess what are the regulations that were coming out.
Bring in their own team.
Correct, bring in their own team. And obviously, the administrations look at the previous administration's regulations to see if there were kind of any so-called midnight rules that were put forward. So we understood that, and the effective date for this for the entry-level driver training rule, I think it was February 6th, 2017.
Yeah.
And so the 60-day delay really, in essence, would have delayed it until March 21st. However, on March 21st, they again delayed it for 60 days, and we did write a letter to Secretary Chao, really expressing our concern that 2 points, really. The president's memo exempted regulations that were subject to statutory deadlines. So the entry-level driver training rule was subject to MAP 21, which was passed in 2012.
Yeah, that's a big highway law.
Big highway bill, from 2012.
Obama signed into law.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, the rule was supposed to be in place 1 year after the enactment of MAP 21. Well, it's now 2017. I think we're going on year 25 of this rule in some shape or form, trying to be put forward. And we said, look, simply put, this was exempted by the president's own memo, so it shouldn't have been included in there. We also felt that the president's memo actually also says that any rule related to safety should be exempt. And because this obviously is a rule focused on safety, there's just yet another reason why it should be exempt. And we just wanted to point that out to Secretary Chao that, more importantly, this is not about this is about responding to the Congress and the laws and following the law. So.
And then in your letter, and I'm going to quote for accuracy, you wrote, not only did the FMCSA, that's the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration that has jurisdiction over the trucking industry, not only did the FMCSA err by including this final rule in the regulatory freeze directed by the memorandum, and this is Donald Trump's memorandum, but the procedures it used to justify its actions likely violate the Administrative Procedures Act. Can you explain, what did you mean by that?
Sure. So the Administrative Procedures Act governs all rulemakings. Anytime you make a change to a final rule, it has to follow a notice and comment procedure unless there is a good cause exception.
Yeah.
The problem is there's not no good cause was actually cited. Saying that this falls under the good cause exception without citing what that good cause is kind of hollow. So
and I think in the Federal Register, FMCSA wrote that it needed an additional time to look at this.
Right, exactly. And what we, in essence, without getting too much into the weeds, but there was a case really on point with this called NRDC versus Abraham, which was a case that stemmed from the Bush administration that's just on point with this and the 60-day delay. So we felt like we were in good standing legally to point that out and say, look, you just erred in judgment. So we would appreciate you putting forward this rule implementing its effective date.
And then for background, the final rule, the entry-level final rule was issued in December.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Have you heard back from the Secretary's office or
we
the
have
DOT?
not. No, we have not.
Okay. So FMCSA issued a statement shortly after delaying it the second time that May 22nd will be the effective date. What's your reaction to that?
Well, in addition to likely violating the notice and comment procedures, they should have requested a notice and comment to further delay. Honestly, the effect of not implementing the effective date means that the state legislatures can't technically adopt this rule now because it hasn't completely been finalized yet. While the ultimate date for states to comply with this rule is 2020, that has not changed, and the reason
February 2020.
Yeah, February 7th of 2020, I think it is, and so there is enough time for legislatures to adopt this, and generally for the viewers out there, the reason FMCSA gives a 3-year window is because at least once within that 3-year time period, a state legislature will meet, because certain state legislatures only meet every other year.
Yeah. Or when they do meet, their sessions are probably 3 months, 6 months.
They're so compact.
Every state is different. Yeah.
Exactly right. And honestly, by delaying this effective date, you've depending on the state, you've really kind of shot this year already.
Of course, yeah.
So, we just hope that the Secretary will look at our letter, look at our argument, and obviously, go forward with this rule.
And for your organization, why is this rule? What's the significance of this rule? What does it do for the industry?
I think it does. Well, first off, it focuses on the value of training. Okay. The trucking industry spends $9 billion on training every single year.
And you're talking literally teaching people how to be in the business.
Absolutely. Pre-CDL training, and it's incredibly important. It puts a more formal structure around the training in terms of what you actually need to learn in the classroom, and it ultimately is focused on a performance-based outcome, meaning you've got to train the individual to a proficiency level, and we think that's a great way to train drivers, because the end result is really what we're focused on here. So I think what this rule does is it will weed out a lot of the so-called CDL mills that give the industry a black eye, and
that's a firm that just for lack of a better term, just a quick job at
absolutely. It's a get your CDL in a day
Yeah.
sort of thing. Well, no serious institution can really get you a CDL in a day. And unfortunately, there are those institutions out there, and we feel that by putting the formality around this whole process and focus on the curriculum, that we're going to have better trained drivers, which means we'll have safer drivers.
And this is something that, as you mentioned early on, that for more than 2 decades, lawmakers, the administrations, the industry have been talking about this.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is literally 25 years old.
Yeah.
It has been going, actually almost 26 years old now. Started back in 1991.
Okay.
And, for a variety of reasons, it has just been, has had its ebbs and flows. And I think we got it right, and I think one important note is really the process by which we did this, too. The negotiated rulemaking was really the first the FMCSA had conducted, and I think that
convened an advisory committee.
Correct. Yeah, and we were members of that advisory committee, as were safety groups, trucking companies, trucking associations. So it was a wide swath, and bus industry as well. So it was a wide swath of the industry that came together, and there were some very nuanced points that I think can only be conveyed when you sit down with somebody repeatedly to talk about why certain things.
Hear them out. They hear you out.
Exactly.
So May 22nd is the new date FMCSA put out. Do you have concerns about that date? If they don't, do you have any speculation that maybe there'll be another delay?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't. I think if there were another delay, I think you're going to see. And by the way, it's also important for viewers to know this isn't a delay solely on entry-level driver training. This is actually a almost agency agnostic additional 60-day delay. So there are many rules caught up in this. There are many rules required by statute caught up in this, and I think more people, understanding that. It takes time to get people in place, but I think generally, if it goes much beyond that, I think you're going to see you'll probably see some more legal action.
Okay. Let's leave it there, Don. Don, thank you. And then they can follow you organization on Twitter at CVTA.
Yep.
And check out ttnews.com for all the developments in the industry.